Welcome back to week 1, unit 2, introduction to ABAP unit. Now we will hear all about syntax and runtime of ABAP unit.
Yes, and we will do this by an example, and the example we're going to use is a money machine, where you get money out. Now, of course, we don't do a real money machine, but only the little piece of software that computes what kind of money you will get. So if you go to a machine, you say, I want 13 euros, it will give you this amount in notes and coins. And the goal of this software is, or this is what we're going to write, is that it gives you the least possible amount of notes and coins. So for 13, what would you get? A 10?
A 10, a 2, and a 1.
Exactly. So, and not 3 ones or 2 5s and 3 ones and so forth. And so we need to write this class that basically you give an amount in, and then you get the amount in coins and the amount of notes in different notes that you're supposed to give out. And so for an example, what will this class do? If you pass in 1 as an argument, you get €1 coin out. So the coin function will give you, the coin method will give you a 1 as a result. If you enter a 7, you will get for a note 5, and for the coin method you will get a 2, because it's a 2 coin. Here you see the product code. Already the implementation, at least of one method, this get amount in coins. And we see there the class definition and the class implementation in 2 sections. Now you may not be familiar with this representation of a class if you're used to using SE24, the tool UI, what is it called? Front end, where you basically all this is hidden and you always have just one line or one section, one method implementation, right? But there is a tab, even in the SE80 for the source code view, that would show you this. And since tests have to be written in this form of pure source code anyway, we'll also show the product code this way, and we'll use it throughout the whole class, right? So you see everything together. Class definition, you see that it's public, you see the class is final. Create public means the constructor is public, and so forth. And the public section underneath there, everything that you put there, methods, data, whatever, is visible, public, and so forth. I guess logically everybody knows that. And below you see the method implementation. And here you have the method get amount in coins, which is this one part where it asks what kind of coins do I get. And there you see the implementation, and that also syntax may be a little strange or unknown to you. Is starting with 740. This is a new, very compact syntax for different things that it's available, and we use this throughout the course as well to just introduce it on the slide. But this is, what is it called? A conditional functional expression or something, which is, semantics is obviously when this is, then you do this, and else you return that, and it returns the result as a whole, as just this value, right? Yeah. So now we come to tests.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. So we go to the test include. That's the place where your test should go. And there we would like to write a test class. And to make this test class a test class, we have to add the addition for testing into the definition part of this class. And additionally, we have to specify 2 more things which are used by the ABAP unit runner. First one is the risk level. There we have 3 values. One is shown here, the harmless, meaning nothing is changed before the test, is the same state as after the test, so nothing is persisted, no data is persisted. Then we have dangerous and critical, and they do exactly like they sound. They are dangerous and critical, meaning they persist things, and then you can decide, is it dangerous or is it already critical? Yeah, that's basically a filter criteria for the ABAP unit runner. You can decide, oh, today I only want to run the harmless, and so on. And then there is the duration parameter here, and there we also have 3 values. It's short, medium, long. And you can think of short means less than a minute, medium means less than 5 minutes execution time, and long means longer than 5 minutes And what this does is, if your test actually then runs longer than this specified period, the unit test environment will show an error. So it's like a promise. Yeah, I promise that I'm done within a minute. Yeah, if you say short. These values are configurable by your system admin, but these are reasonable values actually.
Actually, I would think, I mean, a unit test should be really short.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about the unit tests we want to promote here and teach you how to write, you can typically run 1,000 in 1 second.
Yeah.
These kind of tests. So, but I guess those are the numbers that are configured, and you just have to be aware it's like a timing boundary. That's very useful.
Yes.
Mm.
Okay, so now we have a test class, but we don't test yet anything, so we have to continue. And what we need is test methods. And test method is a method without parameters and the addition for testing at the end.
Mm.
And here you see one, so amount 1, coin 1. So that's if we put in the amount 1, then we expect that the coin amount is also 1. Yeah, so very easy, but we need content. Okay, let's put in more content. Okay, we would like to introduce the test story here. And that is, you should always tell a story when you write a test, so that your reader knows what you want to accomplish. And a good way to do that is to always have 3 parts in here in your test, and that's the given, the when, and the then part. Yeah. Some people call it differently. We stick to this naming here, and then you can put it in a sentence. Yeah. Given I have a certain environment, when I execute this code under test, then I expect this outcome. Yeah. These are the 3 parts which every test should have. Not necessarily exactly everything implemented here, but logically everything should be understandable from this test method. Okay, but we still don't have content, yeah? Only comments here. Okay, one more word to the naming. Your method name is limited to 30 characters, and sometimes it's not possible to put reasonable names within 30 characters. Then there are other means to stretch that a little bit. One is add comments.
And this special comment, especially there with the above the method, you mean with the exclamation mark?
Yeah, you can use normal comments, or like here, it's the above doc comment, which allows your tool, like above in Eclipse, which we will show later, to show in code helpers, in pop-ups, also this this comment, because it knows that it describes the method here. Okay, now we have some content here at the lower right. In the given part, we create an object out of our money machine class and put it into the reference variable cut, which is created on the fly with the new data statement.
So that is instead of create object, the new syntax, you mean?
Yeah, on the right side, the new is instead of create object,
yes.
And on the left, the data statement is instead of creating or defining a variable beforehand and then using it. That's on the fly.
Very convenient, yeah.
And you might also notice that it's not called money machine, this variable, it's called cut, and that is because if you look at many tests in the course of a day, you would have different names for all the code under test, and if you call always your code under test, so the focus of your test, cut, C-U-T, then it's easier for you in your daily life. So we definitely recommend that. Okay, then in the when part, we call our service, and in this case, it's the get amount in coins. We give in a 1 and expect back a 1. And we put that in the variable coin amount. And then in the then part, so that's the part where we compare stuff, we compare this coin amount variable with the value 1. Yeah? And if that is equal, then everything is fine. If it's not equal, our test fails. So that's the whole story here. This assert equals statement we will see that later. That's also part of the ABAP unit framework. Okay, so now we have our first test method. And that was much fun, so we write the second one. And the second one is exactly like the first one, but with different values. Yeah, we create, on the lower right, we create an instance of the code under test. Then we call the service, this time with a 2, and then we compare whatever this service is returning with the value of 2. Yeah. Okay. But there is more, Jürgen, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the code there, it kind of repeats. It looks very similar, and actually in one statement, especially where you create the cut, create the money machine, that is totally the same. And you don't want the same code all in tests, so you want to be able to pull it out, and so there are some special methods that the ABAP unit framework provides to put the code basically that has a special function at certain special places. And I would like to start with the second bullet here with the setup. Every test method is called independently, right? And so they're all independent, and we'll see later on exactly how that all goes together. But basically everything that is as a preparation step, the given part, that is a preparation step for a test, you can put in the setup method. And then for all the test methods in the class, you can have many, maybe 10 or whatever. The setup is called first. It's called before each test method. And then the teardown is called after each test method. And so you can always kind of bracket this with kind of a setup. And then if you do something that you need to take back, you can put it in the teardown. And apart from that happens, the stuff that happens for each test method, there is also a level that is for the whole class. So if you have to do something that would apply to all test cases, for instance, provide some test data that everybody needs, whatever, something like that. This you can put in class setup. It's a static method, and it's called once before the first setup method and before the first test method. And so there you can do something that is the same for all test methods, and it's supposed to happen only once at the beginning, and at the teardown it's the counterpart where you can take it away or whatever you want to do with it. So those are those 4 special methods. But they're actually not real methods in the sense that you have to implement them. They're optional. So only you define them if you need them. If you say method setup, and you can say this, and then you can implement it or provide an implementation. Otherwise, the framework is not complaining. And also they're private, and they have no parameters, just like the test method, because it's called by the ABAP unit runner, right? And so if we look at this example that we had before, we want to make it a little better. We still have those 2 methods here. If you look on the left, amount 1, coin 1, amount 2, coin 2. And this is the code that we saw before. This is the same slide, actually, than 2 slides back. So there we have the original code, and you see that the first line there, the given part is exactly the same. So we want to take that out. Where do we put it?
I have an idea.
Yeah.
I would put it in the setup.
In the setup, exactly. So that's where it goes, because it is the same for all test methods. And that's there you see. So first you see that we have this cut variable. Now it's not just in the method, but it has to become a member variable. Why? Because the setup method that you see also up there being defined needs to put the result somewhere that the methods can use it. So basically you store the cut now on the class level, on the instance level rather. There's the method definition, methods setup, and you mention it basically, I'm going to implement the method. And there you do it. The mcut is now the money machine. So there you have your instance. And then the test methods, this part where it always would create a new variable, it would fill it and so forth, is now moved into the setup. And then the methods just they have those 2 parts of the story, action, test, when, then. Yeah. And that becomes a little more concise.
And instead of using the local variable, we are now using the member variable to call the service. Yeah.
And this is just normal object-oriented programming. Anything you want to share between methods is on the instance level. And now the big overview.
Yeah, now we come to the runtime. And the runtime, you start your test with an ABAP unit runner. And the first thing it does for each class, for each test class, it calls the class setup on this class. And once it did that, it creates an object out of that class and runs the setup on this instance. If it's there, it's always if it's there. And then it runs the first test on this instance, and then it calls the teardown if it's there. And then it starts all over again in this loop, creates again an instance of this test class, calls the setup, calls the next test method, calls the teardown, and so on and so on. For each test class, we have a separate instance of, for each test method, we have a separate instance of the test class. And yeah, we don't know the order which or how the test methods are executed. And therefore, we cannot rely on that, but more in a minute. And then after all of the test methods are executed and the last teardown was done, then there is this class teardown method called, if it's there. And then the framework even does a rollback for you if you need it. If you don't need it, it does it anyway. So you have no choice there. And yeah, but the important point is, first of all, the order of the test methods is undefined. So you cannot rely on any order of the test method execution, which means they should not rely on results they create. So test method 1 creates a result and test method 2 uses that result. No, that's a no-go.
And besides, it's prevented because, and that's the reason why we always create a new instance. So every instance for every test method run is fresh.
Yeah, but you can
do tricks.
Can do tricks, make it static or so, but don't do that.
Absolutely not. Bad smell.
That's a bad smell.
Yeah.
Okay, and one more thing to mention is you can also argue, oh, I can put my teardown code at the end of my test method. This will work if your test method does not fail, so if the result is okay. But if your test method finds an error, it stops at that point immediately, and then the execution jumps to the teardown. So the end of your test method is no longer executed. Therefore, everything which you need to execute to remove some stuff, so your teardown code, should go to the teardown, because this is the only point where you can make sure that it's definitely executed, even if your method fails, your test method fails.
So it means if I have two asserts and the first one fails, the second one is not even called.
Correct.
Yeah, that's important to know.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the runtime. And you already saw this CL ABAP unit assert class, and this is also part of the ABAP unit framework. And it offers a lot of methods to compare stuff. And this is only a short extract of that. The assert equals you already saw. It compares two values. Even tables are used. And then assert bound, assert not bound. So reference variables, if they are bound or not bound, you can check there. Then you can check for initial values or not initial values. And also for true and false. So ABAP underscore true, ABAP underscore false. So the Boolean comparison here. Then the return code, assert sub RC. And if you want something to fail, because you know if your test code reaches this point, then the test has to fail, then there is a statement for that. It's called fail. And then the statement will produce a failing unit test anyway. And then you have the abort statement, which is meant for, at the beginning of your test, you might want to check if you have some dependencies on the system. If this system you're currently in has these dependencies and you are supposed to run here, or you are not supposed to run here. And if you're not supposed to run here, then the abort statement is the statement of choice to tell the framework, I have to abort this test because this test doesn't run here.
And then the whole test run is aborted.
Yes, normally you should put something like that in the class setup.
Right, something.
Or in the setup. Yeah, but you will not use that very often. Okay. So that was all for runtime and the syntax of ABAP unit. And this is the basic for the rest of the course. You will need that. And in order to practice this a little bit more, we have some exercises for you, and we hope to see you then.
In the next unit.